Totally killer, dude. All right, I really said that. I said I wasn't going to do that, but I just decided to do that once I heard hit record. But yeah, totally killer. Here we go with this new film that is on Amazon. Yes, one that's on Amazon and not Shudder for once. So, what are we looking at here? When the infamous Sweet 16 killer returns 35 years after his first murder spree to claim another victim, 17-year-old Jamie accidentally travels back in time to 1987, determined to stop the killer before he can start. All right. A couple of things off the top. I seen a lot of good reviews for this. Uh, uh, I guess I let several people apparently see this before I jumped into it. I know I shared some information about it in the trailers and so forth, but I happened to not really look too much at it. I kind of knew that I was going to watch it at some point, which I obviously have, but really didn't pay attention. So, interestingly enough, I was surprised by a couple of things as this movie went on, and I'll get into that shortly. But yeah, again, this being a new movie, I'll try to keep this as spoiler free as possible. But I do have a question or two, and I'll see if I can phrase it without spoiling things in this movie. That I'll think about that as we go along here. But anyway, again, good to see at least a movie worth seeing, coming to Amazon. No offense to any other movies, but, something that, Amazon is at least pushing out there. I know this is what, I think a Blumhouse film too, or so forth. So, good to see, them, kind of jump into it. It is October, so why not? Anyway, enough of my opinions on that matter. Totally killer. So, in a way, I can kind of see why everybody wants to see this, likes this. 1987, anything with the 80s involved seems to strike a good chord with people, or at least get them interested. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a good movie, but at least gets them interested. So, like I said, I really didn't know what I was in store. I knew it was going to be like a serial killer slasher kind of film. I knew there were some younger people involved as usual, as we usually get. But yeah, okay, I'll say that in a second. But so yeah, we get introduced to this family unit here, and the young girl here. It's Halloween time, and everybody's getting ready for that and so forth. We get introduced to her parents and so forth, and their parents. Well, I should say even before that, we actually get a quick introduction to the serial killer and what happened, and in a quick kind of almost flashback kind of form of three young women who were killed many years ago in 1987, and then the killer apparently disappeared and no one caught him. So now we're in the present day. We meet this young woman and her family there, and apparently her mom was friends with the young woman that got killed, but was fortunate and never got killed herself, but has been traumatized by the events, and also her husband was also involved and very aware of what was going on. So it is Halloween time, and the daughter wants to go out and be with friends, and of course, the mother, coming off that whole incident, whatever, wants to be protective of her and her going out, and apparently she has spent a lifetime of being trained and aware for the possible day when this serial killer comes back, or another killer is there, or just another one of these times where a parent has made their kid more than aware of the possibilities that are out there and how to defend themselves. So, as the night kind of unfolds, you think, yeah, okay, the girl's gonna go out, whatever, blah, blah, maybe something's gonna happen to her. But no, in turn, something happens to the mom. The mom is attacked and unfortunately killed. And we get a good kind of slasher scene there. And it's actually, it is a good scene because the mom puts up a pretty good fight. Um, so, unfortunately, like I said, she's killed. Not a big spoiler because it's early in the movie and just part of the thing here. But I guess, my question, and I'll put this here, and, maybe somebody in the comment section could answer that without, kind of ruining, well, I don't know. It's early in the film, so hopefully this doesn't really spoil you. But let's per se that when the mom is killed here, either the killer is really quick, or they make, at least in what I saw, to me it seemed like there was two killers. Either that, or just the killer was, like I said, really quick, or they just moved the scene very quick, and that made it seem that the killer was quick. And I only say that because of how the movie ends, and I was just wondering. And I guess I'll leave it at that because I really don't want to spoil anything else that happens here. But I was always under the assumption that there's two, but I don't know. We'll leave it there. And okay, whatever. I don't. Maybe I should have just said spoiler alert and talked about it. But whatever. I'm just gonna leave that there for my confusion. If you have any comment or want to know more about what the hell it is that I'm talking about, feel free to ask me on social media or that. And I'm planning on asking a few people, but I just figured I'd throw that out there here. So maybe anybody else who's kind of in my same train of thought. I don't know. But I don't want to spoil anything. So forget about all that. After that, so the young girl then, wants to kind of figure out what happened to her mom, who killed her mom. The cops in town are the cops in town. They're whatever. Actually, I'm not even gonna go there either. But so in turn, she turns to her best friend, who happens to be working on a time machine that most likely is not going to work because also there's a science fair that's going on at the same time. And in a weird state, the science fair is taking place in this old fairground, which has basically been deserted, but was apparently popular in 1987 when, the parents went to school, which is just an odd place for a fairground. Obviously going to play a role in the movie, but just weird. But anyway, eventually the killer is going to come and try to kill the girl. And in the process, in the scene, getting chased around, she ends up in the time machine and goes back in time. So I guess, one of the things I kind of want to mention is as they kind of started, when the two girls are there and they kind of introduced the time machine, I was just like, hell no, they're not going to send this girl back in time. You just please tell me we have not reached Back to the Future, the horror version, and that is exactly kind of what we get here as she ends up going back in time. And I was just like, honestly, when that kind of happened, I was like, seriously, we have now gone here. I mean, I don't know if we've seen any other horror movie where people have gone back in time in this fashion. I know we've had dream sequences and that kind of thing, and visions going back. But a horror slasher movie where someone actually went back in time, again, in the comment section, if there is one out there that I'm just not thinking of at the top of my head, I'm terrible with that kind of trivia. Please feel free to let me know. But, in my head, or at least in whatever, I was just like, seriously, we're doing this. And yeah, they went there, they sent her back in time. And I was just like, okay. Obviously, she, they play it off, like she's gone through history like we all do, and she's familiar with Back to the Future, and there's mention of Back to the Future in the movie, and some other titles. And there are moments in this movie that you are going to see that seem familiar to other horror movies and so forth, which is expected. And so yeah, they sent her back to time, and her then thing to do back in time is to try to solve the murder before her mom actually, so if she solves the murder, then her mom doesn't get killed later on in history, and that's kind of thing she does, or she tries to do. With that, I kind of leave it here. That's basically the premise, is that then she goes to the school, meets these girls, and basically just trying to save them and trying to figure out who the killer is. And then, of course, as we know in most time travel movies, you have the time travel rules, and you're changing history and so forth, and also going back in, having to come back to the present, and so forth. So they don't ignore that either. She needs to get back within a certain time. It is a little bit different in Back to the Future because obviously she didn't exist, and obviously when he goes back, depending, he actually went to the future, whatever. It's all confusing, but whatever. He didn't have to see his future self. She's not there, so you don't have to worry about seeing her future self and that kind of thing. Oh, this movie's so I don't know. Anyway, yeah, there are some rules, but not too many. But whatever. She does have to make it back within a certain time. So you're going to get, some of the serial killer stuff at this point. We already had it some. We're going to get some more. The killer has an interesting mask. They never, I don't think, really went into details about the mask and why that mask was picked or whatever. It is interesting. I guess it kind of fits 1987. I don't know. A little bit creepy, but not the scariest thing ever. You are going to find out, details as the movie goes on, and then once the killer's revealed, you can kind of figure out, why they're a certain way. Like I said, there's going to be a little bit of a twist in it because this whole future thing is kind of set. One of the things that I thought was kind of interesting was, as she's doing things in the past, you do get a brief glimpse back into the present day and what's going on there because her friend is basically trying to figure out a way to bring her back or what she can do to help solve everything on her end. So you get a couple of glimpses of that. And which, I was happy about when they showed the first one. I was like, okay. And then I was kind of like sitting there watching this, and I'm like, when certain events happen, I was like, okay, now would be a good time for them to go back to the present. And, why haven't, and then boom, it went back. And I'm like, oh, wow, look, I wrote this part of the movie. But, it just felt like they should. And I thought maybe they just gave us that one glimpse and was going to forget about it. But then they did. So I'm glad they kind of did that combination. It's not for a huge amount of time. But definitely important and may give you some clues to what is going on here. So definitely important stuff there. So yeah, I was glad that they still, they didn't just stick her in the past and then you just saw all the past and they ignored what was going on in the present. So that was good. I liked that. The killing part, he does have to stab the person. He likes to stab the person 16 times, and that's why I guess he's called the Sweet 16 Killer. So that is good. He's kind of brutal. There's some good scenes when he's definitely out to kill the people. Like I said, especially with the mom in the beginning, that was fun. And then some of the other scenes. But, obviously him being the killer, he always seems to have the advantage. So, that you're kind of like, okay, so he's a killer. And at times you're just kind of wondering, he has such an advantage at some points you're almost thinking, is he really human? Is he not? Is he a robot? We're Back to the Future, so or back in time, maybe some other weird stuff is happening in this movie. But yeah, it's not. It is a person. And of course they do the thing where they give you the different suspects, and you just gotta kind of figure it out. But there is a twist, and part of it plays in this whole going back in time kind of thing. There's a twist, which then like I said, then once it comes back to the present after everything happens, I guess now that I said that, maybe at the beginning there was two killers, but I guess because maybe she changed his time, maybe there's just one. I don't know. It is. Once again, you go back in time, they make it a point that things change. So maybe things change. I don't know. I'll figure it out one day. Or I have a person or two I'm going to ask, and I'll figure it out eventually. Just now that I say that, now maybe that's where they went with that. I don't know. But yeah, I could see why people liked it. I was Still a little shocked that we kind of, mixed in the Back to the Future kind of thing, and then she went back in time. It added fun. They had the '80s music and so forth, and the setup, and you see, it helped set up some of the usual serial killer kind of themes. There's a house, then there's a cabin, and that kind of thing. So you get the kids in the usual area where they're gonna get killed and so forth. Um, I liked how it wasn't afraid to kind of, when it went back in time, it wasn't afraid to kind of change things up a little bit. It didn't just have to stay to the same kind of thing. So, it had some good, I nitpick at a few things here and there. Again, still shocked that they went back to the future. Whatever. I guess I shouldn't complain because I always ask for new stuff, different stuff. And I guess in a horror movie kind of setting, like I said, this might be a little bit different. You guys can, in the comment section, tell me whether you've seen other Back to the Future kind of horror movie kind of things. But yeah, so I guess, in that regard, I can't complain. I shouldn't complain. Even though, again, it was just, I don't know. I was just, as it was happening, I'm like, they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it, whatever. I actually thought that the killer was going to jump back in time with her. But didn't. But then I guess that would kind of ruin things. Maybe in a different version, maybe if there's a sequel, which I could see them doing because, she went back in time, screwed things up, and changed things. So you can come up with a sequel somehow, some way, that, sprouted somewhere along the lines. I'm sure if they wanted to do more because of that, they could figure out a way to do more. It probably wasn't that hard. But yeah, anyway. So throwing a lot at you guys, throwing a lot of confusion at you guys as I explain my confusion. But yeah, I can see why people like this and so forth. It wasn't bad. The acting was good. It was fun. Had the usual serial killer slashing kind of stuff. Like I said, it got kind of brutal there with the 16 stabs. One of the times they kind of go into this themed haunted house kind of thing, which was pretty cool. Added some creepiness there. But yeah, the twist, I think some people will see it coming. Maybe it surprised some others. I don't think it was a total shock. Definitely within the realm as you're kind of trying to figure things out. So with that, I think it's definitely a good movie to see during this October season, leading up to Halloween and so forth. I know a lot of you have already seen it, but if you haven't, you can join in my confusion and kind of watch it. So with that, I'm going to give it 3.5 pools of blood. I enjoyed it. All in for a slasher. So, I lean that way. So, I had fun with it, even though, just, I don't know, the Back to the Future thing. I don't know, whatever. I still had fun with it. I'm not going to penalize it for doing that. So 3.5 pools of blood out of 5. And, yeah, I guess it ended up being totally killer. Or mostly killer. Anyway, horrorscorereviews.blogspot.com is where you can find more of my reviews, written and video. But if you're just interested in the video reviews, subscribe, like, everything that everybody wants you to do. If not, no worries, no problem. Please feel free to check out these shorts as well, trying to keep you guys entertained there. If you're just not, if you want something else besides reviews. Twitter, Facebook information down below as well. Feel free to reach out to me, clear up my confusions there. If you want me to review something, look at something, please do so. And definitely in the comment section, if you were confused by anything, question anything like I did, feel free to tell me in the comment section, or just tell me why I'm totally confused. Shouldn't be totally confused, but it was totally killer, so why not? And your thoughts on the movie, of course, once you guys see it. So with that, I will totally catch you on the next review, horror fans.